Thank you for clicking on this video. Welcome back, friends. The bank's call came as I was halfway through my morning coffee. Sir, your payment on the $500,000 loan is overdue. I laughed, a short, dismissive sound, convinced it was a scam. Then they read out the collateral address. My sister's new, sprawling house in the hills. The $500,000 loan was in my name. My hand froze around the mug. My blood didn't rush. It retreated, leaving a cold, heavy weight in my veins. The world narrowed to the banker's polite, concerned voice and the address that confirmed my nightmare. Family. The word used to mean loyalty. My sister, Clara, was always the golden child, the one my parents doted on, shielded from every hardship, proudly displayed as their greatest achievement. I never particularly minded. I was the older brother, the practical one. I worked, I built my own life, I stayed quiet in the background. When she got engaged, beaming with joy, I even gifted her a significant chunk of the down payment for her first apartment. She had hugged me, her voice thick with emotion, and sworn I was her rock, her protector. I had believed her. That trust, I would learn, was my cardinal error. The cracks had appeared slowly, almost imperceptibly. A scanned copy of my driver's license I couldn't recall sending. A signature on a document I didn't remember signing, the flourish at the end just slightly off. Official-looking mail from a bank I didn't use, addressed to me but mysteriously linked to her address. When I asked her about it over dinner, she smiled a little too quickly, waving a dismissive hand. Must be a clerical error, big brother. You know how these big corporations are. A clerical error doesn't secure a $500,000 mortgage. The next day I drove to the bank, my composure a thin veneer over a rising inferno. I demanded to see the original loan application papers. And there it was, in stark, undeniable black and white. My name, my social security number, my forged signature, a practiced mimicry that made my stomach turn. Their fingerprints were all over my future. They had used me, my sister and her husband, Mark, and the final, gut-wrenching blow. My own parents had co-signed as witnesses to the signature, validating the lie. I walked out of the bank perfectly, terrifyingly calm. My chest was a furnace of betrayal, but my face was carved from ice. That was the moment I decided. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of my rage. I would dismantle them, piece by calculated piece, with the same cold precision they had used to ensnare me. I obtained a full copy of the loan agreement and studied it like a military strategist. Adjustable rate, hidden penalties, a massive balloon payment designed to cripple me in a few years' time. Clever. They assumed my silence and my sense of family duty meant compliance, that I would drown quietly in their debt while they toasted their success in a sun-drenched living room bought with my name. But silence, I decided, could be the sharpest weapon of all. I became a ghost in the machine of their lives. I spent my nights building an unassailable case. Screenshots of text messages where they discussed handling the paperwork. Photocopies of every document with the forged signature, side by side with my real one. A damning, legally obtained recording of my sister bragging to a friend on the phone about their brilliant, new home and how everything was sorted. Every shred of evidence was cataloged, annotated, and stacked into a file thicker than a Bible. It was the story of my betrayal, written in their own hand. When my arsenal was complete, I didn't call them. I called a lawyer, a pit bull in an Armani suit. Then I called another, a forensic document specialist, until I had a small, formidable team of legal minds, all pointing in one unequivocal direction, mine. Step 1, the bank. I presented the bank's fraud department with my meticulously compiled evidence. The loan was frozen immediately, pending a criminal investigation. No further payments would be accepted, no credit extensions granted. Their dream house transformed overnight from an asset into a ticking financial time bomb. Step 2, the law. My lawyer filed the charges with the district attorney's office: forgery, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud. The papers were served by a uniformed officer on a quiet Thursday morning. My sister's husband, Mark, answered the door in his pajamas, his face a mask of stunned horror. The neighbors, tending to their rose bushes, saw everything. Step 3, the family. I enacted a policy of absolute radio silence. I didn't answer their calls. I didn't respond to their pleading, then furious texts. I let the silence fester and rot the air between us. My parents showed up at my apartment, their faces drawn with panic. I didn't answer the door. When they finally saw me again, it was in a sterile courtroom, under the unforgiving glare of fluorescent lights, with a stern-faced judge looking down at them as if they were something he'd found under a rock. Step 4, the trap. Through my lawyer, I made one single demand. We would delay pushing for immediate jail time in exchange for full, brutal, and total restitution. Every asset my sister and her husband had was to be liquidated. Their joint savings account, her inherited jewelry, his expensive car. The house, the beautiful, treacherous house, was to be sold at auction. Every cent of the debt, every legal fee I had incurred was to be paid by them. Not a single penny would touch my credit. The final confrontation wasn't loud or dramatic. It didn't need to be. We met in my lawyer's imposing conference room, a vast expanse of polished mahogany between us. My sister, Clara, was trembling, her carefully applied mascara streaking her cheeks like black tears. Mark sat beside her, pale and shrunken, his lips dry and cracked. My parents were huddled together at the end of the table, the picture of shattered respectability, their precious pride in ruins. She looked across at me, her voice a broken whisper. "How could you do this to us? We're family." I leaned forward, my hands flat on the cool table, my voice low, but so sharp and cold it could have cut diamond. "No, family doesn't fashion a noose from your trust and then tighten it with a smile." Her eyes, wide with a final, dawning understanding, dropped to the table. She knew. I had won. Not with fists or shouting, but with a patient, surgical precision that had systematically destroyed the life they built on my name. I slid the final, comprehensive settlement agreement across the polished wood. "Sign," I said, the single word hanging in the air, final and absolute. "It's over." Her hand shook so violently, she could barely grip the pen. Weeks later, out of a sense of morbid closure, I drove past the house. The windows were dark, empty eyes staring out from a beautiful corpse. A bright red "Sold" sign was stabbed into the perfectly manicured lawn. Strangers would live there now, their lives untouched by the venom that had seeped into its foundations. My name was formally cleared by the bank and the credit bureaus. My financial reputation was untouched. My silence, my powerful, weaponized silence, remained intact. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I simply sat in my own, rightfully owned apartment and breathed easier, the air clean of their deception for the first time in years. Betrayal cuts deeper than any knife. But revenge, true, satisfying revenge, isn't a wild, consuming fire. It's a deep, pervasive frost. It freezes your enemies in place, makes them watch, utterly helpless, as the beautiful, fragile world they built on your back collapses into dust and legal filings. And when it's over, you don't feel the hot rush of rage. You feel the quiet, profound peace of release. They thought they had buried me alive, under $500,000 of their deceit. Instead, I buried them under the crushing, inescapable weight of their own signatures. And the look on their faces in that lawyer's office, pale, broken, and utterly, completely defeated, was worth every single, quiet, patient second I had waited.
Thanks for watching PastQuest. If you enjoyed the journey into history, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories from the past. See you in the next quest.